Hello War of the Visions fans, I'm Jackie Fox, and I was awfully surprised to wake up this morning and get Jayden, King of Conquest, the first pullable unit that has commander abilities that we've seen so far. He looks like a really powerful gunner, a very new age gunner, and we'll see some of that as we get into his kit. But first, let's answer a burning question. And that is what his commander abilities are. Now, these are only going to activate in duel. They're going to give a lot of magic and chain resistance to ice characters. For warrior, greatsword and gun accuracy and healing power. And then we're going to get, I think that was healing power. We're also going to get threshold heal for those guys. And it's going to remove paralysis, stop, or disable one time per character, or one time per party. So one time between all three of them, which is still a pretty good defense against those things in duel. I think he's going to be really powerful in duel, but this also says that, like, outside of duel, you're not going to be using him this way. He's not going to be your commander for other things. He's not universal in the way that Mont was. So we'll probably be seeing him more in other formats, maybe seeing him a little bit less, but maybe as people's commanders, especially for ice teams in arena and those sorts of things. Maybe quick pick as well. Right now he might see some use in, and this is a really great way to use him to add power to a party that doesn't necessarily benefit from having him in it, just because he isn't built up enough. So this makes him a little bit more slow buildable than other characters in some ways. So I think that's really interesting, and he's definitely going to be really powerful. But looking at what he does in battle, I'm thinking Alaya's going to be getting an MA3, the original ice gunner, to break the meta. I think he's going to be quite a lot like her in how meta disruptive he can be. As a commander, we already see that he does a lot, but as a gunner, he's going to be doing a lot of single target, select multiple unit type damage, and he's also going to have both healing and CT up, much like, almost exactly like Exia, actually. But also, in addition to that, he's going to have the rest of the trifecta. His counterattack, which we'll take a look at in a little bit, is going to provide 2 panels of knockback, which is really great, especially if you're putting him on a team with like Alaya and Gilgamesh, where you're using the range damage in combination with Seeking Plume to just decimate people before they even get in range of you. He's also going to be really good at taking damage from long range, and also maybe good at synergizing with and helping a lot of those other characters survive. And sure, let's just do a lucky pull here. And while I do, I want to talk about one of my sponsors. And I don't want anyone here getting scammed, so be sure to only download links from reputable sources. So let's take a bit of a closer look at Jayden, King of Conquest. Let's start with some of these. I mean, the stats look pretty good. He's not quite as fast, but we're not seeing a speed thing on him. This is his main passive that's going to give him more range, also accuracy, also physical damage reduction, and range damage reduction, which is going to keep him in the game. And, you know, there's kind of a threshold for units like this, where if they last long enough, they utterly decimate people from range. And if they don't last long enough, they kind of fizzle before they can do all that much. But we're going to see a lot. I mean, this is basically Exia's 2-hit skill, and it's a double tap for him, so a little bit of chaining. Also some utility here. This is a really cool effect because it's going to provide slow and movement down. 2 things that are especially combined, and especially when combined with his counterattack and knockback, it's really going to mean that people are going to have a hard time getting to this guy, or a hard time getting in range to do greater damage to him because of his range damage mitigation. Also, he has Re-Rage, Courage removal, and other good stuff in this buff. And then, kind of as a final thing, he can remove Shell and do some pretty significant damage. Also, potentially raising his own damage with a every 3 turns effect. I'm not sure how I feel about that being kind of inconsistent, but it's something. Really, this counter effect I think is really cool. We don't see knockback in a lot of places, and being able to apply it like this could be a really big deal for him as well. But this is really the big thing for him. Like, if you want to know why this is a must-pull unit for maybe even way more people than just Ice, it's this. Bells has been basically the best TMR in the game, or at least top 5 since I started playing, since it was introduced into the game. Almost entirely, because it's the only source of AP Auto Restore L, which is 25% of your AP per turn for 3 turns. This is going to be for 4 turns, though, so it will give you 100% of your AP over 4 turns, which is absolutely ridiculous, even compared to Bells. But it gets even wilder for this TMR. Let me show you how crazy this gets, because we haven't even begun to compare this to Bells. So here's one of the things that we're going to talk about here. Bells has 7 agility, which makes it one of the fastest TMRs in the game. This has 6. It also has comparably pretty good accuracy as well. So very, very, very strong here. And while this is slightly weaker than Bells in those ways, the buff really adds in something so very huge that I think a lot of characters could benefit from. And that is going to be the ability to remove HP drain, which has been so big in the meta. This will be a really good counter to Soddly, especially, who can really spread that around a team. But maybe even a more dominating counter to someone like Resol. If we saw her more, he would be a really good counter for her as well, especially with all of his accuracy. She's not going to be doing any evade shenanigans. He's got an elemental advantage. You know, there's just a lot of ways which he beats her. And anyone with this TMR could have a pretty significant advantage over her teams and really counter one of the best things that she has. But really, you're going to be using this against Soddly, you're going to be using this against Joom, you're going to be using this against so many meta characters, and this might even create a situation where it's slightly more advantageous to have individual skills that drain HP instead of HP drain. I don't think that this is going to target or turn that off. It's going to turn off the kind of the passive that activates for all of your skills. So this is really strong. And another thing that should be noted here, this effect, if I ever thought we were going to see it at any point in this game, I kind of figured it would be on like an armor or a weapon or something that wouldn't have wide equipability of an accessory, but basically anybody in the game can equip this. And certain modes of the game, there are basically any character in the game is going to want this, especially for PvE stuff, especially if you're trying to solo and you need that ridiculous amount of AP even on a mage to keep them swinging for 20 consecutive turns. This is gotta be such a good way to do it. And just the icing on the cake that it removes that HP drain, which is a big thorn in the side of the meta. Very, very powerful ability here. Wow, that's pretty nuts. So with all that being said, I'm going to take another look here at the end at his commander ability, just so you can kind of conceptualize that. But again, I want to put in the caveat here. This is only activating in duel. So I'm pretty sure that means that he does absolutely nothing in any other format as your commander, which is kind of sad. And actually a pretty good reason why I think they should be introducing a lot of older units as commanders, veterans, characters that have been in this game for a very long time, like Prince Mont. I have a few suggestions. Dario for wind, Curry for ice, Marial for light. There's a lot of characters who, in the canon, in the lore, command certain factions for elements that are MR or lower in rarity. It would be really easy. It would be really great to give these units something to do, to give them this kind of bonus, and it would make us less dependent on these new commanders. And also, if all of those commanders were universal in the way that this isn't, this would mean that elements would have a commander to use in any situation, instead of the situation for ice right now, where their commander usage is entirely locked for their element into dual formats. Which is cool, it's flavorful, but it's not very well balanced for the game overall. It's kind of awkward, and I wish they'd do something about it. But anyways, if you are into this, be sure to like and subscribe, and be sure to ring that bell just so that I don't say something stupid in one of these videos that gets me canceled by YouTube. And with all of that being said, thank you so much for watching. Click the link if you want to donate to the channel. This is going to be released on my birthday, so send me all the presents that you can. I'd really appreciate it. Thankfully, I picked up a sponsor around this time of the year, so that's going to help. 2, be sure to be looking out for those sponsored videos in the future. I'm going to be covering a game called Pokemon Evolution and talking about the platform that's being released on, which is interesting to me, but you already heard a little bit about that in the sponsored ad read. So you've heard enough of me talking about it for now. Be sure to tune in for those future videos though. And with all that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.